When it comes to PlayStation 3 JRPGs, we all know already which ones are the most beloved and popular out there. The next 10 JRPGs you're about to see today are not hidden gems. All of them are just as great as some of the mainstream out there. So these are the 10 most criminally underrated JRPGs on the PlayStation 3. Let's begin! Number 10. This Gaia D2. I'm not the biggest fan of this game out there, but I decided to include it because it just baffles me how even die-hard fans of this series don't even know about it. In particular, self-proclaimed lovers of the very first game, because this Gaia D2 is a direct sequel to it with the same three main characters, Laharl, Edna, and even Flown. Some things here were made to decrease the difficulty, but that's entirely optional. You can still suffer its grinding shenanigans if you want to. Plus, the comedy is just as fun as before. Hell, Laharl gets turned into a woman against his will! Anyway, it's good old this Gaia, nothing really that different from the other games in the series. If you're a huge fan, then explain to me why this game is so underrated, or so unknown for that matter. Number 9. White Knight Chronicles 1 and 2. I'm including both games here for several reasons. One, because separately, I'll admit they aren't that great. Two, because one is a direct sequel to the other, including the same main characters again. So since the first game is pretty short, it's only natural to think of these two games as if they were only one cut into two volumes. You know, like the dot hack games for example, right? 3. They were innovative for their time, using a battle system that was kinda like Final Fantasy XII, but unique at the same time. Xenoblade Chronicles actually followed a similar formula. You'll customize your own character, but the story will follow Leonard and his White Knight. Both games will revolve around the rest of the knights, a war amongst royalty, and a quest to prevent a knight feud. The story actually picks up after a while, and it continues relentlessly on the second game. As a pair, as if they were just one game, it's criminally underrated. You can't play the online mode anymore, but I can easily vouch for the offline story mode any given day. Number 8. Drakengard 3. Yeah, it's full of problems, I know, it probably shouldn't be here, but can I explain? Controls are wacky and there's a strong camera issue, but it's mostly mindless hack and slash out there, and it's fun! Well, maybe not that mindless, since the main character can switch weapons and go technical once in a while. Plus, it's a hard game, so you can't just button mash your controller and win. The dragon missions though, I admit they could have been better. The game is funny as hell, however, and its extremely dark and adult humor makes the chaotic controls worth tolerating. Yoko Taro decided to create a prequel to his own universe with a messed up heroine called Zero. She's on a quest to exact revenge on her sisters. Why does she need to kill them? Well, that's the big spoiler of the game. The graphics are gorgeous during the cutscenes, but during battle, a nonchalant frame drop can be experienced. In conclusion, the game probably got the rating it deserved, but I still deem it underrated if only because of the story and characters. Number 7. Atelier 3. The first two games were honorable mentions in the PS2 video, but I really wanted to include them. These are the types of RPGs that walk the thin red line between hidden gems or underrated. I can go either way, but let me try to save the third game first. Ratings weren't that good because the battle system was changed to a Tales clone, but that's pretty much it. And it plays well in my opinion, nothing wrong with the controls or the difficulty. Everything else retained a true Atelier feel. You're still traversing the towers, still getting tons of ridiculous dialogue, tons of highly interesting lore, and the same old diving that is going inside the girls' subconsciousness to understand them better so they can cast more powerful song magic. Now, these games are known for being heavy on the fan service, and this third entry easily takes the cake. So if that's right around your alley, then go check this game out. So, because of the diving shenanigans, the game has a very strong character development. It is a direct sequel to the second game, but you don't necessarily need to play it to understand this one. Just because he changed to action, people gave it a mixed rating. I disagree, of course, and therefore, I think it's criminally underrated. Number 6. Atelier Shelly. Yeah, dude, I'm aware it's the vanilla version, but I can't include this game on every single console it was released on, right? And it needs to be here because vanilla or not, it still plays masterfully. Plus, it looks gorgeous on the PS3. I'm thinking some of you didn't even know there was a second trilogy on this system besides the popular Arland one. It's known as the Dusk trilogy, and this is the second game. Sorry, but I think the first one, Aisha, was kinda boring, so my praise goes to the other two. After all, the game lets you select if you want to play as the guy or the girl, and that's a rarity in the Atelier series. I love the music in this game. It mixed some blues and jazz with the usual colorful themes this franchise is known for. Most of the time it gives off these strong steampunk vibes that I really dug. The Eska side of the story is the typical alchemist girl hired to help the city grow, but Logi is sent from Central City to overlook the situation and also help in alchemy matters. But he seems to have a dark past, which makes the plot somewhat intriguing. The game still has a timer, but it's very laid back here, so don't worry. This trilogy is just as good as the first one, and I dare say Eska and Logi is better than some of them. Among the best in the whole series, I think it's criminally underrated. Number 5. Atelier Shelly. So obviously, if Eska and Logi was number 6, it was only natural that Shelly will follow. Again, we find ourselves in a city that's decaying, including its economical issues. So it's up to our two heroines, Charlotte and Shelly's Terra, to save it. Playing with each character gives you a different perspective during the first hours of the game, unlike Eska and Logi, which are almost the same from the beginning. Eventually, parties merge and unite on a common goal. Shelly, I've said this a million times, has the absolute best battle system in the series. It took all things cool in the previous and added a burst feature to make them even fancier. It's so badass that even the battle themes are insanely good. And guess what? The timer is gone! No more deadlines to gather, craft, synthesize, complete quests, and deliver your items. It's one of the best out there in all the Atelier minions. The Vita versions of these games are the definitive ones, but I already have other titles I want to talk about in the Vita video. Either way, they're underrated on any system they've been released out there. Number 4. Folklore. This game has been featured in so many hidden gems videos that everyone knows about it already. Sometimes I think it's kind of pointless to keep calling it as such, so I'm upgrading it to the underrated realm. Just like the previous games in this list, you choose between two main characters. Each one has an entirely opposite perspective and controls differently. However, once you reach a certain point, you'll have to play with the other character you didn't choose. So it's always best to play their chapters simultaneously because of this. You've been noticing that pintoresque and bizarre art style, haven't you? It's a gothic, dark, and unique fairy tale brimming with fantasy. Perhaps one of the best stories ever written for a PS3 RPG. Ellen receives a letter from her dead mother, so she's off to this abandoned village to investigate. Keats, a journalist, is drawn there too, thanks to a very strange call. Together, they must unravel the mysteries of the village that, little by little, will turn darker than they ever imagined. The point of the game is to absorb your enemies' souls by using the 6-axis controller. It's hard to get into at first, but it works just fine after a while. You need to do this even with the bosses, since your attacks are basically attached to the types of foes you absorb. Overall, it's an extremely unique game that's fairly known nowadays, but still far from being among the mainstream, which is why I think it's so underrated. Number 3, Star Ocean: The Last Hope. Yes, I'm back to defend this game one more goddamn time. I'll be quick, don't worry. It's overhated for reasons I consider dumb, but people are entitled to their opinion like me, so it's okay. However, I think they exaggerate. Nothing wrong with the story and the characters. It's a prequel to the entire series and it explains why people can't live on planet Earth anymore. So they go to space to study other planets and see if they can be colonized. Along the way they meet other alien races and realize the entire universe is at risk. Mostly thanks to a bizarre and mysterious race that seems to be interdimensional. Some tropes are there to give the humorous nature to the cast, but it goes serious when it needs to. Best battle system in the series, but that's again only my edgelord opinion. Graphics are amazing for its time, and I think Sakuraba's music once again is on top. Especially the regular battle theme, which is among my favorites. Anyway, that's it. You know I love this game, so let's move on. Number 2, Tales of Grace's F. Another popular game, but not rated as highly as some of the others out there. Usually the love goes for Xillia, Vesperia, Symphonia, Abyss, maybe Berseria. Rarely Graces gets mentioned as one of the best, and I think it is. No other Tales game has such a unique battle system, highly technical, hard to get into but very exploitable once you understand it. Yes, this game is brutal, perhaps the hardest Tales game out there, but winning here is so satisfying that you'll want to master that combat as soon as possible. A beautiful story awaits you, told within 3 time jumps from kids to teens to adults. All the while the mysterious girl Sophie seems to be in the middle of it all. So you can only imagine the truly strong character development there is, considering you follow these characters all the way into adulthood. The Tales games always have their own medieval-style modern universes with small science fiction elements. Graces delves into the sci-fi part a little bit more. So overall, as a Tales game, it's such an experience like no other, and therefore criminally underrated, way above most of the others in this list. Number 1, Eternal Sonata. Meet the beautiful masterpiece on the PS3 and the Xbox 360 that no one played. But if you did, thank you, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Frédéric Chopin himself is sick and bedridden while his family looks after him. He starts having these weird dreams about an extremely beautiful and fantastic world. Sadly though, there seems to be a lot of fear towards certain people that can use magic, like Polka for example. So he decides to travel with her while trying to find out why he seems to be trapped in that world. Sooner than later, Chopin ends up involved in this conflict, which eventually leads to a possible war between an evil count and his citizens. But is this really a dream, or is Chopin in some kind of alternative reality? Eternal Sonata's battle system is a junction between action and turn-based. Every character has a turn inside these fields, with light or dark areas. Depending on where they stand, their attacks will change to the corresponding element. You'll need to move and position your party members and cast a series of attacks or perform a special skill. Timing them is the key to win, as the PS3 version of this game can be quite tough sometimes. With music by both Motoi Sakuraba and Stanislav Bunin on Chopin's compositions, Eternal Sonata can easily become a dream itself for the player. And if not, then at least an overly beautiful experience. Don't tell me you were thinking about Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2. Aren't those games really popular nowadays? They are, right? And that's a good thing. And as a fan of the series, I am so happy to say that. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!